G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to the round 12 stock market video. It's been a bit of a frustrating one for me. I was meant to have this up at about 2:30. I thought that I recorded it, went to press stop record, and unfortunately I hadn't even started, so I do apologise for that, but it is here now. I think for most of us, we're looking to finalise our sides. I think most of us are probably between 1 to 4 players away from finalising our side, getting it to a full premo. If you're like me, you've got some slight concerns that you may not get there. I think that I will though, but we're all in different positions at the moment. Unfortunately, this week, I don't think there are a heap of great downgrade options, but on the good side, I think there are some value options in regards to some of our premiums and some of our mid prices as well. You can see that man down the bottom, Max Gorn, he's still there. If you've still got him, some big decisions to make. Do you keep on to him? Does he play? Doesn't he play? I'm still not sure. The other man there, Jack Steele, he's got a break even of 170 at the moment. So he's had a fantastic season, but maybe someone that we can get in not this week, but the next week. Oscar's in the middle, a little bit of value there. We know what the Bont did with that massive 199 on the weekend. And the bloke up the top there, I think this is probably the guy that we do downgrade to this week. I'll talk about him in a minute. But as usual, we'll start off with the Defenders 500k plus. Luke McDonald, I've got up there at the top. With a break-even of 55, average of 87, I've got question marks all over the shop. I just can't get a read on this pick. Look, I can't recommend Luke McDonald at over 500k when you've got someone like a Jordan Ridley at 505,000. Okay, if you compare those averages, yeah, I just couldn't go there myself. I understand that the break-even's only 55. That's in the green. He has had a really good season, McDonald, particularly, in the second half. But personally, I just couldn't go there myself, and I couldn't recommend him. But if you want to go really different, get yourself a pod in, give him a go. Rory Laird, well, I brought this bloke in last week. Really, really disappointing score over the weekend. But I've still got to buy now on him because I'm hoping that was just a bad game from him and he'll come back and average over the 100 from here on out. A break even of 76. We know what type of a ceiling that he's got after that massive 180 score, not last week, but the week before. Price of 555. Look, you're getting less and less value, I suppose, but he's got the buy that he shares with the Lions. That's not a terrible one. The one you should be really concerned about is around 15-1, I think it is. So I still think he's a buy now, Rory Laird. A little bit concerned he may not be attending as many CBAs as I was hoping for, but if he plays midfield, I still think he goes at least 100 plus with his average. This is a bloke that I really like this week. If you did watch my round review, I did talk a lot about Luke Ryan, so I won't go into great detail. What I will say though is he's got a 3-round average in the 130s. It's only one off Jake Lloyd, so very, very similar output in the last 3 weeks. He doesn't have his buy, which is a real bonus. I'm targeting non-buy players from now on. So Luke Ryan, he fits a bill there. He takes the majority of the kick-ins. He's an intercept marker, uses the ball pretty well. He is an ideal pick, I think, to bring into your side. Best of all, he is a pod. He's in under 4% of sides. I'm expecting that to get closer to 10% in the next couple of weeks, particularly given the fact that that man down the bottom, James Sicily, we now need to trade out of the side. And I'll talk about him a little bit in a minute. But he's definitely, for me, a buy now, Luke Ryan. If you look at the break-even, the average, it's not a huge difference there. But if you focus on more of his 3-round average, that's, as I said, a 130. So you are getting more value if you look at it that way on recent form. Jordan Ridley, poor game over the weekend, but you can still select this guy with really good confidence, I think. 505. Short, he's had a really good sort of last month, hasn't he? And he now finds himself over 500k. So he was, sort of those mid 300 marks there for a while, but he's had a pretty consistent season, and best of all, loves to kick the ball, which is fantastic for Short. Hooley, he might come back soon. So I've actually added him to the mix here because a lot of us have probably forgotten that Basher Hooley is even playing this year because he's been out for, it's been a while now, hasn't it? I'm not sure how long, but if he comes back in, he will go down in price. I can't see him getting a 165 in his first game back. So if you can wait a little while to get your D6, he could certainly be an option. Jake Lloyd there, the Seagull. He's a buy it now every week. Pumps out numbers like a premium midfielder. Just go with him. He's the safest option to get in for someone like a James Sicily this week. Haynes, love this guy as a pick as well. I'm going to be targeting him, next week or the week after. Got that break even of 151. You could still go on him this week if you need a D6. He's still going to be a really solid option till the end of the year. He's not going to get locked down and tagged like he did last week. Every week, I think that'll be just every now and then if he's unlucky. But yeah, I'm going to target him next week personally because I'm hoping I can get him closer to that 500k mark, or even better, you could go the week after. I think he should be even cheaper. But it's hard to predict, what his price is going to be because we simply don't know how he's going to score. Talk about Hooley and Sicily. Unfortunately, we need to let this guy go. Now, when I say, this is a bit of a blessing in disguise, I don't mean that in a terrible way, a blessing for him doing his ACL. Of course not. But purely from a SuperCoach sense, I was worried about this pick because I was worried that he was, going to spend more time forward. And given the fact that now I have to trade him and the decision's been made for me, yeah, I'm actually not thankful for that, but yeah, it's not the end of the world because, I was really worried that he would be sort of sub 500s very, very quickly in the next couple of weeks. So given the fact that he's out, the positive is that we've got a number of different options that we can look to bring into the side. On to the mid-price defenders. I've had a few questions about this bloke this week, Jackson Thurlow. So we're paying $359,600, average of 104. Keep in mind he's only played one game. That's only a one-game sample with a break-even of 11. I think he's a trap. I'll put the trap symbol there. Look, what you got to ask yourself is he going to score 104 each week? I highly, highly doubt it. With his role up forward that he's playing at the moment, I don't know if he goes down back, but I think he probably stays up forward. Who knows with Rampy out, if he does go down back, I'm not too sure about that. But at 359,000, nah, it's just too much for an awkward price. The break-even is low. I do understand that. And hey, he could turn around and get another 100. I can't say that for sure that he's not. But for me, I just think he's a trap, particularly at that price. Look, if he's 159, we jump all over him. 200, yeah, we have a look. But yeah, I just can't recommend this guy at 359,000 after one game. You look at his scoring history, nothing would suggest they can go anywhere near that consistently. So for me, I would avoid him this week. I think he's a trap, even though he's got the low break even. John Noble there, I've just got the chop and the binoculars on because he's a bloke that some of us still have at D6 and we'd be looking to upgrade. So even though his break even's lower than that average of 69, he's certainly still fine to upgrade, or else on the flip side, certainly still fine to keep on to. I'm going to do that this week. I'm going to keep on to him. Hopefully makes a little bit more, and then looking to upgrade next week. Zach Williams and Tommy Stewart. They're your two best buys. I've got Williams as the best buy just over Stewart, just for one reason. That's the fact that Williams has already had the buy. So if it was the other way around, I'd be recommending Stewart as the best buy. I'm concerned slightly about Williams in regards to his durability, but I think if we look at his last three scores, they've been really, really healthy. A break-even of 80, average of 90. He was one of the most expensive defenders coming into the season that we could have paid up for, so I certainly think that he's the best buy, along there with Tommy Stewart. He was the only one that actually reached the ton for me out of my 6 defenders last week, so I think if you look at that break-even of 81, that price of 467, average of 92, if you're not too heavy for around 15 buy players, then certainly look to get him in. Unfortunately, Rampy, he needs to go. I'm pretty sure he's out for the season now. He's been a real roller coaster, hasn't he, for us this year? Dean, I called him Dean Rampy, I think, in my first ever stock market video, so I'll keep on calling him Dean Rampy, but Dane Rampy. And Connor Blakely. Now, I'm not saying buy this guy, but what I am saying is keep the binoculars on him because he's a real pod. I think he's got talent, this fella. I don't know what's happened with him in the last few years at Freo, but yeah, he's got a break-even of 82, which is higher than his average of 70, but just keep a watch on him. If he can go maybe a good 90, then another 100, he's someone we could possibly look to bring in as a bit of a cheaper and sneaky option. On to some more mid-price defenders now. Shannon Hearn, as I said, never been a big fan of this pick. Just getting a bit too old for me. Average, break even, same. If you're looking to spend around 400, I suppose you can get him in, but I'm not recommending him too highly. Adam Sard, don't mind this pick. So average, almost 100, been the best averaging year, for Sard, for his career so far. Break even of 94. You could go worse than Sard. You get him under 500 grand. So, yep, I'd recommend him if you're looking for a defender. But personally, I would go elsewhere. Sam Doherty, geez, disappointing pick. And I suppose keep the binoculars on all these other guys. Caleb Daniel, I tell you what, under 500k now, he just hovered around that sort of 520 to 550 mark, didn't he, for a lot of the season. So he's great value at the moment, but again shares that awkward buy. So if he'd already had his buy, for example, I'd be jumping all over this pick at the moment. Daniel is such a consistent player, great disposal. So he's certainly an option to keep in the back of your mind also. The defenders under 300k, the cupboard is pretty bare. I do have the buy it now on Cottrell, but I don't have it there with any great confidence. I've just got the buy now because when I look at the other options, he's probably the one that stands out the most. You look at Scholl there, he's probably the player I like the best, but you are paying an extra 40k for him. So that average is basically identical between Cottrell and Scholl. The break even, there's 16 difference there. So that's why I'd probably say Cottrell over Scholl. Scholl, I think, would have much better job security. I'm not sure about Cottrell's job security, but geez, he got excited when he kicked that goal, didn't he? Good old Cottrell. Love his celebration, so it's got a bit of life to him. So maybe get him in because he seems like a pretty fun sort of a bloke anyway. Toby Watson, yeah, job security. Tough one, isn't it? The other one there, Tom Murphy. Now, I don't know a lot about him, to be quite honest, but an average of 41 is nothing to write home about. His break-even isn't even the negatives at this stage, so yeah, I don't love that pick myself. I don't love the Rusco pick either. And Will Day, certainly don't trade this bloke. You know, you may be looking to upgrade. Look, if you need to upgrade and you're desperate to upgrade and he's your D6, for example, and you can get in a Lloyd or a Ryan, one of those blokes, then go for it, I suppose. But he's already had his buy. His break-even's only 26. He's got more money to make. He's a good on-field option with a 72 for your D6 anyway. So I would not be trading out Will Day at this stage. I'd definitely be holding him for at least the next week or two at a bare minimum. Got some more defenders under 300k. You're not getting any value really here. The guy at the top there, I don't really know why I put him there because he's at a really awkward price, 264. We're not upgrading to him or downgrading to him. That's just too awkward. But I was just a bit surprised, I suppose, to see Easton Wood down there at that price. Average of 60. Again, nothing to write home about, but he went over 100 on the weekend. Is he hitting some form? I don't know. Never been a SuperCoach option, really. But break-even of 31 is a massive pod if you're looking to do some sort of a really wacky move. Brander, job security, he came back. I'm just not sure about this bloke because he has been fit, I think, for the previous 3 weeks. It's a tough side to break into. Does he keep his spot? He had a fair game over the weekend, so probably. But we don't look to trade him in. But if you've got him, you can probably keep on to him for another week or two. Andy McPherson, as I've spelt him there, but Andy McPherson, 284,000, really disappointing. He's got his hammy, so he'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks. I really recommend keeping him as a bench option if you can, but I suppose for most of us, we probably need to cash in this type of a player and downgrade him in order to make our upgrades elsewhere. So whatever you want to do with him is fine. Really disappointing though, because he's just a solid rookie selection, Andy McPherson. And the other 3 blokes there, they can be on the chopping block. BZT, he was looking to make a bit more money, wasn't he, after that really nice score 2 weeks ago? But yeah, he isn't going to be making much more money now. Ash has been extremely disappointing if you've had him this year. And on to the mids, 500k. So lots of us are looking to finalise our midfields at this stage, and there are some half-decent options here, I think. The man there at the top, Bont, well, we knew that he would have a really low break-even this week after his 199. Hasn't he hit form? I'll tell you what, why they didn't tag him, I don't understand why they didn't just hard tag him, because he just talk about domination. Him and Baslenka just absolutely dominated the Crows. So, look, I've got a sneaking suspicion that he will face a few tags coming up. Not necessarily teams that traditionally tag, but you can't let this bloke get away with what he did on the weekend. I don't know what Matty Nix was doing, to be quite honest. But, yeah, at 112 for the average now, that's obviously really spiked up. That average wasn't looking, awfully good before the 199. But look, get him in. He's a buy now with a break even of 20. Awkward buy though. Zorko, 522. He's a buy now with a break even of only 36. Short turnarounds, maybe of slight concern with him, but an average of 98. He's looking pretty good at the moment, and best of all, presents a heap of value and doesn't have the awkward buy. He shares that one with Adelaide. But remember, you'd sort of be trading him in for a week, then he'd miss a game. So not an ideal time to get him in. After his buy would be awesome, though. Wines, roller coaster, I would not be going there. Next four are Pods. Lockie Hunter looked really good, didn't he? Menegola, underrated season. He's had a fantastic season to date. Danger, I haven't put the buy now there just because I'm a little bit worried about his forward time. But again, you could look to get him in. Bad buy, though. Taylor Adams, I think he's a buy now. He's been in some really good form lately. Probably last week or the week before would have been the ideal time to get him in. But he has that later buy with Richmond. Break even of 97, not a heap of value there, but I do rate him as a pick. I think he's had a fantastic season to date. This man, I am getting into my side this week. Well, I'm 90% certain that I will. Nat Fife. He's had the buy. This guy is an absolute beast. There's one concern, and that's obviously his durability. So it's a risk, but look, I don't need him to get through a full season. I'm picking him for 6 weeks. So I'm hoping he can get through the 6 weeks. Even when he rests up forward, he's really, really dangerous. Unlike Danger, I think he has more of an impact while he's down there. He's had the bye, and not having this bloke watching those Freo games, sometimes I just can't look because he can go from, being on just say a 12-14 to a 45 very, very easily. So extremely damaging. We just need him to get through these next 6 games, and he's an uber premium pick, so he'll be coming into my side. We will not have a bye. I'm hoping that he will play every game. The next 3 blokes there, keeping the watch list. Geez, Jared Lyons, absolutely love this bloke, particularly as a Brisbane supporter. Yeah, again, with the Brisbane players, I wouldn't be getting him in this week because they'll have 1 week in the bye. Maybe look to get him as a pod after the bye if you're looking to just get quality into your side. Look at that average as well, 118. Magnificent Jared Lyons. This bloke, Luke Parker, is one of the options I'm looking at personally this week as a real, I suppose, pod move. He's got some value there, price-wise, not break-even compared to average, I understand, but he can hit that 117, I think. Look, he hasn't got a huge ceiling this year. In the past, we've seen that he has, but this year, most of his high scores have sort of been in that 120 range. So that's the main concern from me. But he's had his bye. I think he's leading the midfield there at the moment. Kennedy's out. He's probably the most experienced player that they've got running through there at the moment. So I really like him as a pick. And certainly someone I'm considering personally this week. If you want to know a little bit more about him, check out my round review, which I uploaded either yesterday or the day before. I talk a little bit more about Luke Parker there. Jack McRae's always a buy now, I think. Look, if you want to go absolute quality, get the bloke in, but you're almost paying 700k. My recommendation would not to be going near McRae. I'd be looking for some value elsewhere. I'd be going a Fife, for example, over a McRae. Tuke Miller, he's been a great pod this year. Cogs, keep him on your watch list. He's had his buy, and I still rate him as a selection, even though his break-even's 126. He's got a huge, huge ceiling, but again, he can drop some absolute stinkers as well. Teacher, I think, is a buy now, even though that break-even is 131. You're paying 600 for him. You'll pretty much get what you're paying for, I think, at 600 and be guaranteed, unless he injures himself, to play every game for the remainder of the season. Lockie Neal, I think he's a buy now still. Look, 141 break-even. That's under his average. That's how well this bloke's playing. So if you don't have him, he's killing you. But again, would I be saying to get him in over a Fife? Probably not. I'd just be getting a Fife. But you are missing out on basically a guaranteed captain option each week in Lockie Neal. And the other 5 blokes there, Kelly, Dunkley, Oliver, Kelly, and Steele. Certainly keep on your watch list. Love the the Steele pick. Love the Steele pick. 572,000. Look at that break even of the average of 115. Huge break even of 170. He's the sort of bloke that can get you a 150 or 160 though if he's on his game. I'd be waiting a week and seriously considering this bloke. Does have that awkward buy though, so yeah, that's a real pain. If you had a different buy, that would be absolutely ideal. But certainly keep this guy on the watch list. Probably in the All-Australian squad, you'd think. And the mid-price midfielders. Angus Brayshaw, I've actually got as a buy now. Look, he's a little bit trappish, And this isn't a huge buy now recommendation, but the reason why I've got the buy now is because his break even's 10, his average is 82. That isn't anything to write home about, but if you look at his 3-round average, that is looking fantastic. Now, I would never select this guy on my side. He's just a pick that, sorry. Yeah, he's just a guy that I would never pick personally in my side because he can drop those stinkers, you know. The main concern with him was his time on grounds, and I think it got brought up in the media and raised in the media a few weeks ago, and I don't know if it was just a coincidence, but that time on ground has gone up all of a sudden. So, look, do I like the pick? It's okay. Look, the move that you could make, if you've got maybe a trade or two up your sleeve extra, is to get him in now. You know that he won't have the buy, and then look to flip him maybe after one of the players that you want to bring in has had their buy. That could be a move, a short-term move. Look, he could continue that form and be someone that you keep for the rest of the year, but keep in mind as well, he could turn around next week and give you a 50 or a 60. So I do have a buy it now, but it is I suppose, a buy with caution. Ed Langdon, a random sort of pick there upwards of the pod, just looking for some sort of a pod with value. 430,000. He's had his buy, well, hasn't had the buy, but won't have a buy, and his break even's 38. I couldn't do it myself though. Dylan Shield, I recommend him as a buy now. 46 break even with an average of 105. He's still a pod, and he's all about the value. So 480,000. I don't think you can go too wrong with this pick, to be quite honest. So I recommend him as a buy now, even though I'm not a huge fan of the pick, purely because of the value, and he'll play every game of the season. Trav Boak, I've got a buy now as well. I'm hot, cold on this pick, but at the end of the day, his break even 62, his average is 103, and his price is 474. So if you're looking to finish off that midfield with a cheap value option, maybe get a Trav Boak. That could save you the money to maybe upgrade to a Luke Ryan or a Jake Lloyd, as an example, or a Petrarca if you haven't got him up forward. Pickett, I think you probably got to sell, but again, if you're not desperate to upgrade him, you can leave him there because that average and break even is pretty much bang on as it is. Not sure what's happening with Yo as well. Don't know anything about his injury. I need to get up to date with that. But if he's looking to be out for 2 weeks, I'd move him on because we haven't got too many weeks left in the season. So with the extra trades we've been given, it's frustrating because I know that he doesn't have the buy and all the rest. But I'd be moving him on if he's going to be out for more than 2 weeks. I'm not sure on that. And the other bloke I think you've just got to chop now is Sarong. You've made a heap of money there. You know, he's been a terrific rookie pick. Really up there he'll be for the rising star, I think. But this is a stage now where you look at that break even compared to the average. If any rookies break even, apart from someone like a Real or one of these freaks, gets to that 102, it's really time to move these players on, I think. So I would be chopping him. The great thing is you could downgrade him all the way to sort of 117 to 123, or you only need to spend probably 150 even to get a half decent fallen premium in your midfield. So I like the Sarong pick, but I think that we've got to get rid of him this week. And the midfielders under 300k. I bought Bytel in this week. I was a little bit worried because, what's his name, Jones and Ross came back into the side. I had to make the decision before the teams were announced, but I really did rate him. I did talk a bit about him in my review video, talked about some clearances that he had. I like the look of him, so I think he keeps his spot. I think he is still a buy now, still only 155. Same as O'Halloran. If you look at the two players, Bytel and O'Halloran, and you compare them, compare the price, average, and break even. There is basically nothing splitting these blokes. Purely, I rate Bytel as the better pick. O'Halloran, I assume he keeps his spot. But again, I'm not too sure on that. I like Bytel as the better pick out of the two. Markov, I shouldn't probably have a buy now there. I probably should have a JS symbol on him because he'll be in and out of the side, and I wouldn't be paying 215,000 for Markov because we just don't know if he's going to play every week. If he's guaranteed to play every week, great, because his average is 75. He's got a lot of money to make. We can even use him as a good option to have on field if we're really desperate, I suppose. But I just can't see the job security there for him. So Bytel for me. Wicks, does he keep his spot? Again, I'm not too sure, but Sydney don't have another buy. 151. I could have got onto him last week, but I selected Bytel over him, even though he hasn't had the buy. You can still get onto him, though, with a negative break even of 22 if you want. And Sammy Simpson, we got to sell him. So he's done his job for us. Thank you, Sammy. Almost 300k. You either downgrade him or you upgrade him this week. Just get rid of him. He's got to go either way. On to the Rucks now. I bought Big Peter Adams in this week, and I was pretty happy, to be quite honest. He scored me an 89, so I thought it'd be a 90 plus, which is almost bang on. He made me about 40k also, which was good. Average is 97, so almost an average of 100 there. Break even at 52. He's still going to make money this week. He's a ruck forward. You can always swing him. I've got him currently as my R2. You can swing him into your forward line and even look to get another ruck in. Lots of options with Adams, which I really like. He's much better when he's around the ball, when Lycett's having a rest. Good with his hit-outs, good clearances, loves to tackle as well. So really good around the ball. Still a good forward option as well, but obviously he's not going to score near as much when he's up forward. Was on 45 points at the end of the first quarter, jumping up and down, thinking, you are a genius, DR. I still think it was an okay move, don't get me wrong, but geez, it was looking like a 120 plus score for sure. So do you get him this week? Yeah, you've probably missed the boat on that value, but it's an option. But yeah, look at this guy, Nick Nat. He has had a magnificent last 3 weeks. More time on ground than one of my midfield so-called premiums in Luke Shuey. I am worried with these short turnarounds. Look, gut feeling says that he will get rested. A lot of people got on him, not just because of the fact, but the fact that he's one of those non-buy players that's already had their buy. But I think that West Coast may give him his own buy. That's just a gut feel. I haven't heard anything. I don't know that. That's just, as I said, what I think personally. But look, he's still a buy it now. Break even of 62. If you think that he's not going to get rested and he's going to play through, then he's a buy it now. The reason why I didn't select him was because I was getting an extra 100k by going Laddams, and Laddams also gives me the option to still keep him but move him into my forward line in case things didn't quite work out, or in case there was another ruckman that put their hand up that you just had to bring in. Maybe even Maxi, if he goes down really, really low, then find some form again. We just don't know at this stage. But Nick Nat, if you brought him in, particularly the week before last, congratulations, terrific pick. I pretty much knew it was going to happen. I knew I was going to miss out on a really, really nice score. But that's the decision I made. I was focusing more on the cash. And what that allows me to do now is get someone like a Fife in instead of a Parker. So that's the decision that I made looking forward to this week, where I knew that I could use that extra 100k. Get rid of the Pits. He's gone. The Big O, yeah, look, the trouble with recommending him is that he's coming up against St Kilda. So the Rachel, I should call them that, shouldn't I? The Ryder-Marshall combo. Look, he's shown against Goldstein, for example. He scored 74.5. So, yeah, he can still match it with the best, I think, the Big O. But after that, he's then got the bye, and then he's facing Grundy. So you get him in for 1 week if you get him this week. He misses next week, then he's coming up against probably the premier ruckman in the competition. So that would be my concern with getting the Big O in. Buy Goldstein, I think he's good. Bad buy though, but look, if you're looking for just a solid premium ruckman, you can't really go wrong with Goldie at the moment. I think he's spending more time in the ruck. He wasn't spending as much time. He was getting played, a little bit forward, a little bit back, resting a little bit there. But I think you can get him in with great confidence, and the same as Brodie Grundy. I think we've all pretty much got this bloke. Max Gorm, we've talked about him in great length over the last sort of week or two, so I won't talk any more about him. Completely your decision what you do with him, but I've obviously traded him myself. And the ruck's under 300k. Look, I just thought I'd put this, as a separate little thing here. DeConing, as you can probably hear the dogs in the background, I may need to stop again and then start recording again if these dogs keep on going sick like they are in the background. Apologise for that. But DeConing, I suppose I've got in there as a buy now. Just if you're looking to downgrade somewhere in the ruck, you're probably not looking to. We've probably all got Draper, from a few weeks ago, but I just thought I'd put him out there as an option in the ruck that's got a negative break even that will probably play the next week as well. Oh. All right, we'll get back into it. Sorry about that. The dogs are just cutting sick, and I just had to wait. Sorry, I couldn't hear myself think. So on the forwards, 500k plus. Tommy Hawkins. Geez, few questions about this bloke as well. Had not seen such a dominant game like that from a key forward in a long time. If the ball went near him, he grabbed it, and then he kicked a goal. It was as simple as that. And look, I've sort of got to eat my own words here, because I had the trap symbol on this bloke, I think about 4 weeks ago. So I do apologise to everyone for that. I just thought being a key forward, he just can't sustain the great scoring that he's been putting out there. But, he's put me to shame and made me eat my words, because Tommy Hawkins has just continued to be a really, really solid selection up forward, even as a key forward. So I've got to put the bite now on him, because his break even's 12. He's got that average of 110. That's obviously spiked right up after that huge score on the weekend, similar to what we saw with someone like a Bont, for example. But one thing that you've got to keep in mind is that when you buy Tom Hawkins, you've got to be confident that he's going to continue with at least that 110 average. It doesn't matter what the break even is. Look, if you're looking to buy him because you think that he can average that 110 plus. If you think that he's going to go, just say, to a 90 average, just as an example, just to pull a number out there, don't buy him just because he's got that low break even, because you won't be looking to trade him out of the side again. So if you think that he's going to finish up as one of the best forwards from here on out, from here until the end of the season. Remember, it doesn't matter how he scored so far if we're getting him in this week. It's certainly great to get a form line off what he's scored so far, but we're never going to get those scores, those previous scores, into our team. And I know a lot of the time it's really tempting to chase those points, okay? So just be really, really careful about that. Make sure that you look at his upcoming opponents, and if they're really nice lockdown defenders, and if they make it really hard for those key forwards to get a kick, look at all that sort of stuff. So for me, yeah, I've got the buy now on him because he is great value. And yeah, after last week, he's just in red hot form. But just be careful. Just be careful with him. Not saying he's a trap, but certainly don't expect him to be going 160 plus every week from here on out. Track, I think he's a bite now anytime. You're paying basically Seagull's price. He is basically the Seagull of the forward line, that sort of must-have that just does not let you down and consistently scores really, really well each week. Andy Brayshaw, yeah, disappointing for this young fella. Look, we were probably waiting for a low score, weren't we? He's been that consistent for us, so I can't go off too much at him. I know that he gave away that free kick at the end of the game to allow Jack Nunes to kick the winning goal. I know the weren't the baggers getting up? Very excited. Shout out to you, Christian, as well, mate. I know you're absolutely wrapped, mate. But look, with Brayshaw, you wouldn't probably get him in this week, but he's already had the bye, and what I'd expect, he'd be really disappointed after what happened last week, and I'd be looking for him to bounce back in a big way. I think he'll be really, really keen to make amends for last week and came out absolutely firing in the next game. So, yeah, do you get him in? Probably look to wait on him, I'd say, because you can get him a lot cheaper in another week or two, I'd say, if you can wait that long. But, yeah, don't expect him to be giving those terrible scores from now on. I think you'll go back to those solid scores anyway. Lockie Whitfield, disappointing score for him in the weekend. I'll be looking to possibly bring this bloke into my side in 2 weeks, maybe if he's good value. Michael Walters, again, I'd almost penciled this guy in as my F6, but something that concerns me is the fact that he's playing forward a lot more now. I don't think he spent much time at all in the middle in the last game. Is that going to be a trend from now on or a pattern from now on? I'm not too sure. If it is, and he's looking to spend a lot of time forward, I will not be selecting him in my side. If it looks like he's going to be going back into that sort of hybrid role, more midfield rather than forward, then, hey, terrific selection, because that average of 106 is great for a forward. Break even 144 though, so my advice would be to check him out this week and possibly next. And if he's looking to score well, in whatever role that he's in, even if he's up forward and he can still be damaging in those stints in the midfield, then get this bloke into your side. Definitely keep him on your watch list, because I may look to finish with him. And Dusty, well, we don't do anything with him, do we? If you haven't got him, you don't trade him in. And if you got him, you probably don't trade him out. You just leave him as he is. Oh, those dogs. I'll keep going. I need to get this video out. I'll try to pump through. Sorry, guys, if the dogs are in the background, there's just nothing I can do about it at the moment. Sorry. He's a bit of a wacko, the guy next door. I know he doesn't watch these videos, but I'm a little bit paranoid knocking on his door asking him to calm his dogs down. I'm not that brave, unfortunately. I'm not that brave or that silly. Back to this, though. The two blokes at the top, very quickly, I think they're both traps. So both massive scores on the weekend. Didn't Norton just look absolutely sublime, the astronaut there? But they won't do that every week. I wouldn't be selecting him, particularly at that price. Too awkward. They are traps, in my opinion. Now, this next man, the Big Lizard, how's about this for a bit of a sneaky move? Now, think I'm crazy, and it is a crazy move. Don't get me wrong, it is a crazy move, but I'm just putting something different out there for you to consider if you are a little bit crazy yourself. Price 288,800, average 57, terrible. Break even of 25. What I loved about this was career highs all over the shop. Why was that? Because it was a completely different role change. For the first time, we didn't see this bloke play up forward. We saw him actually run through the midfield on a wing, and he looked absolutely terrific. Geez, he looked awkward. I must admit that, the way he sort of gets around the ground, but it works for him. He looked terrific in this role. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to continue this role on the wing. I'm not sure if that was through necessity, just an experiment, and they're going to move him back forward. But if I was the coaches and I saw the game that he produced on the weekend, I'd be keeping him on the wing 100% if I was the coaches. And obviously, I'm not big horse Longmire. But this is a really sneaky move. It's a really awkward price because do you downgrade to him? Do you upgrade to, what do you do with him? You probably don't even look to do this move. But I'm just putting something out there. I think that this guy, if he plays on a wing again, he could sort of average 85 plus off a wing, the way that he played on the weekend. It's a big call. It's a really risky move. This is a week that you'd probably do it. But don't be surprised to see Nick Blakey maybe end up, 350 to 400k if he keeps that role. Just throwing it out there. Reece Matheson, another one. Real pod move. Just throwing this one out there as well. He's got some DPP status, so a mid-forward. He played his first game of the weekend, came in, played that role that Alice Yeoman had been playing. Yeoman last week, the last game that he played, just looked slow. I was messaging my brother and my cousin, during the game, and we said, this bloke's got to be dropped. I love him as a bloke. He's a really nice man, Alice Yeoman, personally. I've met him a few times, actually, but, not up to scratch. Lots to do with his speed, I think. But Matheson came in for him. Look, Matheson's probably 1 or 2 games away from being dropped. Daniel Rich comes in. I know that they don't play similar roles, but Matheson could be squeezed out because there are players for Zach, like a Zach Bailey, for example, that could play that similar role. But I think he keeps his spot. Fagan does reward good form, so I think he looks to stay in the side. Sorry, I wouldn't be selecting him. He's just too of an awkward price for me. This bloke here, Baz Smith, Baz Lenker, George's man. Best game of his career over the weekend. That run and carry, career high in possessions, inside 50 score involvements. Absolutely magnificent. He's your best buy from this lot. Break even is at 52 now. We had concerns about him, particularly with Dunkley coming back into the side. I know Lockie Hunter's back in now, but he showed in the weekend that doesn't worry him too much. It may moving forward, and that could have just been a game out of the box, but we know his talent. If you're looking for an F6, 444k, yeah, you couldn't go much worse than Baz Smith, so he's your best buy there. And just James Rowbottom, I've had a few questions about him, so I included him in the Stocky this week. I think he's a bit of a trap. Look, I've got the pod there rather than the trap because it may be a bit harsh, but after his last game, yeah, people got talking about him. But if you look at his other games this season, yeah, just not up to scratch. If you look at that average for his season, only 78. I know that they'll probably troll him and give him a lot more minutes there now. So, look, he could end up, with an average closer to, 80, 82 by the end of the season. I'm not too sure. But, yeah, I just don't think that there's a value there. He's a future SuperCoach option, and he's going to be a really good player for the Swans long term, I think. But for this year, at this stage, with that price, I would not be going near Rowbottom myself. He could turn around and get another 100, if he gets more mid-time, as I said, and end up, finishing the season on a really high note. But for me, it's just a no, I think. Just a real in-between sort of a pick for me. On to more mid-prices now. We're almost there. Darcy Parish and Jai Simpkin. They're both buy nows for me. Simpkin, he's hit form again. 96 for his average. 72 break even. There's a bit of value there, I think, now. So jump on him if you need to finish your forward line. Look, he may come up with a few other low scores, but he's got the potential to play really well. And we know he's a really talented player. I've got the feeling that he was just underdone in some way. Still struggling a little bit from that injury. But he looks pretty good now, I think, Simpkin. And the other thing with him was his pretty poor disposal, particularly by foot. But looked better on the weekend in regards to that. Darcy Parish as well, I like. I think he's a talented player. Break even of 58 there, so there is a fair bit of value if you want to jump on him this week. Again, DPP with him, along with Simpkin, also DPP. Haven't got it listed there, but they are, as you probably know anyway by now. But I like those two picks, both as buy now. I have had a couple of questions about Robbie Gray also. I think he's a trap, though. You know, he's just not a super coach option for us anymore, Robbie. In the past, he's been magnificent, the champion, and an uber primo for a forward option in the past. But these days, nah, not for me. Doesn't present great value there either. You look, he won the game off his own kick. What was it? What, 5 weeks ago was it? By now, I'm not too sure. But apart from that, hasn't done much for the season, so I would not be going there. Toby Green is a pod. When he comes back, maybe someone to look at. Won't have another buy. Huey Greenwood, love as a player. He's been a revelation for the Gold Coast Suns this year. Yeah, he's had a pretty poor month though. That scoring's dropped off a little bit, but he's certainly an option that you could look at, but doesn't have that great buy. Break even of 116. You could look at him. I was going to bring him in the side either this week or last, but given the fact that that scoring has been down, I've sort of kept that off. And now that I know that he's going to sort of have that awkward buy, probably not for me. And I think you can probably chop Martin or Butler as well. And on to the forwards under 300k. First of all, up the top, we've got Boyd Woodcock. So he's gone up to 186,700 now. He was one of those really, really cheap options at 102k. But his average is 65. Still got a negative break-even of 38. So when I've got the buy now there, it's not because I recommend him, buy now, which I know is a little bit confusing. But if I compare him to some of the other options that we've got here, I think he's probably the next best option after my best buy. There could be another player, Nick Reid, that possibly could be the other buy now, but we'll talk about him in a minute. But with Woodcock, the reason why I've got buy now there is because he's averaged 65. He's looked pretty good, and he's got that negative break-even of 38. So don't mind the look of him, but you probably missed the boat on him, I'd say. Will Walker, pretty similar position to him. I'm not sure about his job security. If I could select one of the two, Walker or Woodcock, if you look at their average, it's the same, price is the same. I'd go with Woodcock just because of that break even. Guevara, I actually started with this bloke. He played the first week, then we didn't see him until last week again. His job security just isn't there for me. You could get him though if he plays this week. He's got that negative break even of 10, but the job security is a major concern for me. Nick Reid, only 102k from the West Coast Eagles. So 52, not a bad first up game. Break even of -9. Remember, if he plays again, that break even will be definitely, real negative. So even with Reid, if he doesn't play, if you need to downgrade somewhere just for the sake of having to downgrade in order to make money to upgrade somewhere else, then you could go with a Reid for sure, because given the fact that he has been given a game, there's certainly a chance, even if he doesn't play next week, that he will come back into the side. So if you're desperate and you need to get someone right at that bottom basement price, then you could still do it, I think. It's at that stage now where there's not a heap of great options that are available, so he wouldn't be the worst option to get. But certainly the best option for this week, both in our midfields and our forwards, because you can see that he's got that DPP status. He was the bloke that I had at the start of the video, right up the top of the scale there. Zach Foote from the Sydney Swans. He's your best buy for this week. 123,900. Kicked a goal on the weekend. Wasn't it great, to see him get mobbed by all of his teammates? It's always a really exciting moment for a young fellow when he kicks his first goal. But he looked really good for me. He passed the eye test for me. Break even of -9. That average of 61, that's pretty good for a first gamer. And best of all, he's got that DPP status. So you can swing him with a Butterick, with a Close, even get him in your midfield. And if needed, you could bring one of those premium forwards that have that DPP status just to fill into the midfield for a week, just as an example. So I think he's your best buy. In regards to job security, I'm not too sure on this, but gut feel, just getting a read on it, I think he's pretty safe because the Swans had a great game. He played really well for that 61. As I said, I think he, played his role. 10 possessions, truck in the background. I'll just have to keep going. I'm not going to edit this, sorry, because I'm just too late with it. Something's against me. Someone out there doesn't want me to get this video out today. for some reason. But yeah, he's your best buy, Zach Foot, either in your mid or either in your forward. I assume he plays. Wait to the team sheets if you can, but this is the guy that we downgrade to this week. I think the Swans are going to play the kids. Zach Foot is the best buy. And then we'll finish off with some of these blokes that probably we need to chop. I just thought I'd throw Spargo's name out there. He had a really good game on the weekend. Negative break even of 16 now. Job security isn't there. And throw this guy's name out there as well. The reason being, I think he's played 5 games now. And look at his price. He's still at 117,100. Over 5 games, I think it's 5 games, an average of 26. So the definition of an absolute nothing rookie. It makes me almost feel a little bit better that I've got Wicks in my backline, to be quite honest. But break even of 14, just don't go there. Even though he hasn't had the bye, it's probably better just copping a donut, to be quite honest. But look, I suppose, look, if you do need to downgrade and you're looking at someone at that price, I suppose, you could go him, but don't expect anything more than, I suppose, a 30 looking at that. And the last 5 blokes there at the bottom, I think we can all chop at this stage because their break-evens are in the red. Do what you want to do with these guys. You're not getting a heap of value from a Waitman, a heap of value from a Butterick. But look, even if you went a Butterick down to a Foot, for example, you're still making 100 grand there, which is, can go a long way to completing our size at this stage. So that is it from me, guys. Thank you very much for joining me again. It was a bit of a long one, but there are lots of players that we do need to discuss because lots of us are looking for those pod options, looking to go a little bit different from the pack. Lots of us are looking to make up a few spots in the rankings, and we need to go a little bit different in order to achieve that. So I will leave you there so you've got a bit of time to work out your options. Thanks again for all the support, guys. Can't believe the positive response I've got for these videos, and apologies again that it is out a little bit later. As you can tell, it's just been one of those days where, as I said, someone just doesn't want me to get this out, but I will get it out now. Time to upload. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.